Welcome up back, everyone, to the desk as we come in for what will actually be our last set of the day. My name is Gormines, and joining me on the desk once again, or I guess for the first time today, actually, is going to be Pretty Hair
I have
himself
sat here once before
as we
today,
come
though.
through. But this one is going to be, I think, a little bit closer than the last two sets. We've had some, I want to
hope
say,
so,
clear
yeah.
victors. Obviously, SK and Kangas started out relatively strong and close. Big Egos and Renegades, 2-A powerhouses coming through. What are you kind of expecting out of this set?
I am expecting this. If it's not close, it's going to be a landslide for the Renegades. And I wrote down here in kind of our pre-match notes that the Renegades roster, when you really kind of run through each of these players, you're like, they have a kind of a sick five going for themselves.
Yeah.
They just need a fire under their butts to get this going. And I really think that is true. And I think I want Kliku to be the anchor. I think in my mind, he is kind of the best player on this roster. I want him to, and especially as this aggro frontline guy, I think he's a really good player that can actually, kick this into gear for this squad.
So there's one thing that has been coming up. I've actually been curious about this because I heard like a rumor, I guess, a couple of days ago that Loki wasn't able to get here and Loki wasn't going to be playing. And actually, you can see it on the screen. Loki will not be playing for the Renegades today. So that is going to be very big in terms of whether or not they're able to show up. It's going to be the Bon Scott playing in for him. But, I mean, he's one of their star core players at this point. Do you think not having him available is going to make this a much bigger chance for Big Egos?
It's going to hurt. It's not going to help. The big question here is, how do the Renegades adjust to this? Do they slot the Bon Scott straight into something that Loki would have been playing? I personally don't see that as being the move.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right play. I think what they should do is most likely move Kliku onto what Loki would have done. I think Kliku in the past has been that flexible guy who is going to play that third DPS back when the 3 DPS meta was a thing. And I think that's going to be a bit of a more natural fit, as well as the fact that I have seen Bon Scott play frontline in the past, and I think that's a more natural fit for him. And again, it comes back to, I think Kliku is the strongest player on this roster in terms of flexibility and just caliber of play in those roles that he performs. So that's what I would like to see Renegades do to compensate for the loss of Loki.
Every single time they get here, I mean, third place pretty much every single split. They've only been able to come to land so far this year, save for this one by getting pulled in because another team couldn't make it. And now Loki's not here. I mean, it's almost always going to be a problem, either not being able to be prepared enough or a player not going to be here. Do you think the fire that you wanted to see under Renegades is going to be lit, or do you think that this land might be kind of closed out for them? I mean, top 4 potential with a sub, is that possible?
I think we had a lot of people picking Renegades to go top 4 given the full roster, and that definitely changes things. We have to wait and see. We have to wait and see who's playing what, where, when, and why, and how well does it work out. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel if something doesn't work out? Renegades certainly have a lot more on their plate than I think they anticipated. And when you look at their opponents, William, these guys are no schlubs.
Yeah, William 355, actually one of the players that we were going to mention.
Look at that style.
Looking, I think in the past, he has played with the likes of Rock Monkey, Rubu. He was on that team that did so much during a LAN about a year ago, if you were watching.
Certainly.
And so having that, Niju as well, they have LAN experience. They're not going to be coming into this nervous like we had just been talking about with Splice. They're going to be feeling confident. Do you think Big Egos has a considerable chance because of their history?
Absolutely. The players that they are gives them a chance. They've been on these stages before. Most of them have LAN experience. But again, you have to remember who the Renegades are, where they're coming from. The biggest story there is obviously the loss of Loki, Bon Scott stepping in. The chink in the armor is there, William. I think there is an opportunity absolutely for Big Egos to seize it.
So number 1 in North America, which was Sanguine, at least from the PGS, did get, I guess the best term for it is bopped earlier by Virtus Pro. They did not have a great showing for them. Very solid at the beginning, but it all fell apart by the end. Big Egos is number 2. Do you think they have strengths that they can play to, or are they looking really to kind of exploit more of what Renegades are lacking now?
I certainly think they have strengths. I think what the Big Egos need to do primarily is figure out who they want to be drafting around, who is going to be what I would dub their Kliku, right? Who's going to be their power player, their rock, that guy that I think they want their win condition to be, who they feel confident about. And that can really, anyone but the support. Obviously, I think it's hard for a support to be a win condition. Supports, frankly, fly under the radar for the most part in these drafts. I think it's mostly around which front line are you getting and what DPS are you getting. That's where you see 80% of the draft decided. So deciding, and I think William might be a good one to start. William 355, you're right. He has played with Rubu. He has played with Rock in the past. He has played with guys that have gone on to be great. Why can't he go on to be great as well.
One of the other players that we've been talking about, obviously with the lack of Loki, that's going to be very big. Moonchopper has been incredible for Renegades pretty much since his pickup. He's been incredible all around. And it's just in that unfortunate spotlight, I think at the very beginning, he's like essentially the same thing that Invocal is for SK, where on Splice, Moonchopper was phenomenal, but his team never won. The same thing happening to Invocal, but now he's kind of said he feels at home. He likes this roster.
Good.
Do you think that him being on LAN here, having that in performance, having things like the EV to be kind of pull out is going to be a big boost to their strength? Maybe give him the limelight more than Loki?
You know, I was thinking a lot about Moonchopper in between these past two sets, and he's a guy who he kind of exploded onto the scene, right? He kind of came out of nowhere. He was filling in, I think, for that Splice team or for a PGS team, but he was just, every game we saw him, and he was just doing phenomenal. And it's almost hard. He kind of set the bar pretty high for himself, and then when you make that leap into the PPL and the competition just steps up just exponentially, it's tough to keep that pace. And so it's hard to say that he's lived up to the expectations, but if he feels good about himself on this team, there's certainly room for him to be successful, but it has to start here. And I think if they're going to live up to expectations, frankly, that I've set for them, I can't remember if you picked these guys, but a lot of people picked the Renegades to go top 4. If you're going to go top 4 in this event, you likely need to be stomping out your first-round opponent. There really needs to be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So far, Virtus Pro are really the only ones to have done that.
Well, it actually turns out that we do have an interview ready with Big Egos kind of before the match goes into it, how they're feeling, and maybe breaking the news that Loki's not there, and maybe if they're going to have some confidence levels. So let's go ahead and jump and hear what they have to say.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gore. We are here down on the floor with my man Quick. It is nice and cool in here. How you feeling?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely very cool in here.
We just brought the big fan in for you guys. You can't see it on the camera, but how are you feeling? I mean, this is a big matchup between two North American teams, which means that you guys see each other in ranked. You see each other in casuals. You know your tendencies and play styles even before you got to LAN. How are you feeling being able to face some opponents who may be a little bit more familiar to you?
We feel pretty confident about this matchup because we already, like you said, we're from the same region. We know what's going to be happening, and it's the same meta and stuff like that. It's not like any curveballs from other regions that are coming in.
A lot of people make a big deal about the amateur scene, the PGS, and the PPL. Obviously, this is a PGS team against a PPL team, a number 3 PPL team who's top-seeded for that North American representative spot. Do you think it's a big deal?
I think it's definitely a big deal, but we feel confident about getting this win.
What makes you feel so confident? I know there's a lot of talk about some of the talent on this roster. Niju's been to LAN with some of the boys that we saw earlier play on Sanguine in Vegas. He performed well against SK. You've got Edgem, who was considered as one of those people who might sub in for G2 Esports while they were looking for that sub while Bodies was gone. How do you feel about the talent in this roster?
I feel like everybody's very mechanically skilled and talented on their own set of mechanical skill. And we all play really well as a team together and have good chemistry with each other.
So how much is that chemistry going to impact today, and what do you think is the thing you need to do in order to come out on top over the Renegades?
I think we just need to play our game and just win.
Well, you heard it. Just win. I think that'll do it for Big Egos. Let's send it back to the desk and see what Nick and Gore have to say.
Well, playing your game has been the thing that so far a lot of teams have said. I mean, Fnatic, those are famous words that they always like to throw out during LAN, but it never quite seems to go the way they plan. Do you think Big Egos have a better chance of playing their game here, or do you think Renegades are going to kind of push them into the corner?
Yeah, I think Renegades, obviously, they've got more experience sort of drafting in these environments and adapting. Renegades have a lot of LAN experience together as a team. There's a lot of LAN experience on this PGS squad of Big Egos, but it's kind of like a little bit over here. This guy played with them. He was with those guys, sub for these dudes. So it's not necessarily this cohesive unit. And a big thing that they actually kind of hit on in that interview that I think is worth talking about is the fact that it is a PPL team versus a PGS team, but it is in the same region. And specifically what my man hit on was there's no real curveballs here. You know, we saw in that last set, we saw like a Southeast Asian Zin come out. These guys, they queue against each other. They're in the same pool of players when they're playing pub, rank, all the scrims, you know, pugs, that sort of thing. So I think that's a good point to kind of think about, is the fact that they are in the same region, they have sort of the same inspirations, the same players that they play against, the same champions that they're likely to see in their lobbies and their scrims. They can scrim teams that would be playing the Renegades. There is, I think, a lot of sort of mix and matching going on with these same region teams playing against each other in the first round.
And a lot of the NA teams that we've had have been giving kind of pressure, not pressure, but pushing on their PGS teams to be successful, saying, you know, like, oh, yeah, we expect Sanguine to be able to go forward. We expect Big Eagles to go forward. But it is because it is a little bit more lopsided, I want to say, in this matchup. Overall, 4 out of 5 for a PPL team is still really good, especially, like you said, with ClickU being able to flex around the way they are. It's not something that's going to be ideal for the Renegade situation, but it is something that they can definitely deal with. And, again, double elimination makes it a little bit easier for them. But with that being said, I mean, picks and bans, this is where it all comes down. Maybe Androxus is going to be important. Maybe it's not.
That's a big question, because you've got to remember, guys, if you're just now joining us, Loki, the primary hit scan player for the Renegades, is not here today. It will be the Bond Scott filling in for him. So what we talked about was how do the Renegades adjust to this? My hypothesis is that it will be ClickU stepping up to play that hit scan DPS role, and the Bond Scott, their substitute, as he has played frontline in the past, will be slotting in where ClickU otherwise would have been. And then the question is begged, what does the Renegades look like? Because ClickU brings one hell of a presence to the front line, making things easier, and maybe that's what they end up doing, or maybe they have to keep ClickU, and they can just put Bond Scott on this Victor with, you know, 3 acres of space made in front of him, and he can just kind of do his thing, plug and play, easy peasy.
I mean, there's so much, and I just can't imagine how unfortunate it is, because, I mean, yes, you will scrim with your sub in occasionally if someone can't make it or if something's gone wrong. But, I mean, Renegades, most lands, they're like told 2 weeks before, by the way, you're coming to land.
Yeah.
Now they finally are like, all right, we can prepare. They're sitting, they're grinding with Loki, and then he's unable to make it. And so you just hit this scenario where you're just like, we haven't maybe spent enough time with our sub to know what we're doing going into this.
Right.
A lot of this I expect to be the last couple days, them figuring out where they're going to go, what they're going to try. But Makoa's a definitely staple way to start out.
You got to love that voice line, too, man. That is just thunderous voice line. The deep claims you. Makoa locked in for the Renegades. Who's going to play it? And I don't know why. You know, like I said, Bond Scott's played on a lot of Paladins before this. And it's been primary frontline from what I remember. And I remember him on Makoa, too. So I feel like with the way this draft is going, maybe that's where they end up putting him. But that being said, ClickU can still play that. I think it'll be more decided once we see the DPS drafted. When ClickU flexes to DPS, most of the time it is on Leon. So I think that will be something that we have to look out for, and something that will help us figure out what the Renegades plan to do without one of their star players.
Well, Nara Khan is definitely a solid frontline pickup. Willow, though, has always been in the conversation lately of how do you counter either Khan's Battle Shout, being able to get some anti-heal onto him, and just stop Inara from being the healing sponge. So Willow is a big pickup, especially for the way things have gone. But again, Renegades are kind of having a tiptoe around. I expect Moonchopper to be on the Willow. I expect him to have a stellar performance. Charge. It's where everything else falls that I think is going to be very important for them.
I think you got to take Leon here if you're Big Egos. I think it's such a large takeaway from the Renegades, and it does so well against Willow, which they've drafted so far as well. But they will go for the Androxus, which we talked about would have been a big pick. Highly, highly contested in the set. Had Loki been here, that's the key point.
But you still get the anti-air Andro here on the side of Big Egos, going more than likely for Willow, just trying to shut her down.
She does have a big head.
And it's a lot easier to hit her up in the air, I think, than anywhere else. You get Leon, though, so now you have Death and Taxes, you have Dead Zone, you have Makoa just being able to apply a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of areas where I think Big Egos are going to feel confident standing in the open on this map.
And with that, man, I really think the Renegades have a good draft. Even considering they do not have Loki, I think this is easy. Put ClickU on Leon, easy put Bond Scott on Makoa, and you should be off to the races here. Hopefully Bond Scott can just plug and play. I think Makoa is an incredibly strong frontline, something that is very important to do with a guy who's probably not going into this matchup with the most confidence as the substitute player.
So knowing you have a sub on the side of Renegades, but looking at the drafts, who exactly are you leaning towards for this first game?
RNG, I think this is the perfect draft for their situation.
I mean, being able to pick it up, a lot of just solid champions coming through.
That being said, it's not a bad draft for Big Egos.
Big Egos.
I just think this is the perfect draft for Renegade's situation currently, and they have to feel good about it.
Would you say Big Egos are relying maybe a little bit more on Androxus to perform? Like, if he doesn't have the performance, is that going to be it for them?
I think it's coming down a little bit to how they play it. I think I love to see, and I want to see the return to this of the sort of bodyguard style that Khan can play, where I want to see this bonus damage leveraged from Khan. Whether he gives it to Kazi, whether he gives it to Andro, I don't know how they're going to play it, but I think there's something there.
Well, we're here, game number one, last set of the day, Renegades versus Big Ego. So let's go ahead and jump over to the casters and see how it rolls out.
That's right, Gore, Pretty Hair, it's Evan and Vox on the mic for the last set of the day in our first day of Paladins World Championship qualifiers. Renegades, PPL team, top seed here in North America for that representative, and Big Egos, number 2 North American representative here for the amateur PGS scene. Vox, what do you make of these drafts?
Well, for starters, I'm not so sure how I feel about Niu running the Impulse Cassie over big game when you have Hero maybe playing that Makoa. You can do a lot of big stack damage on them potentially, but what I'm seeing right now from the draft specifically, there are a couple of things. Big Ego tried to ban out the Bond Scott there. Didn't work out too well for them as there are a lot of front lines available to them, but also Renegades are playing this utility-heavy draft. Big Ego is they're going for all healing, all damage. The problem is, in the face of Dead Zone, all healing, all damage leaves you with, well, just damage and no healing.
Here's the problem, Moonchopper, such a veteran player, it's hard for me to bet against him. I feel like he's going to make the plays that put Renegades in a position to succeed. But Edgem, watch out now. William 355 getting in on the party, and Renegades are caught looking. 2 kills, Big Egos in control.
Oh, that's a really important one. And Renegades now, they have to take a step back. They know that they can potentially control that objective if they get the will up into the high ground, but with an Androxus around, you don't want to do that without backup, Evan. So I'm looking for, here we go, a Hero to be leading the charge. That Makoa that can pull in the pesky Andro and catch them out if they do overextend. But Big Egos, they have really good positioning here, and they do wisely back up.
And the strongest part about Big Egos is their execution of this draft.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like it that much because they clearly were giving up some high ground potential. Something like a Dredge, even though we haven't seen it, would have been fantastic up on that balcony, just weighing down on the point. But they went for more mobility to fight in these little cubbies on Splitstone, and it's working out beautifully. Niju is magically maneuvering himself to the appropriate areas to do damage, stay safe, and that results in a 1-0 lead early on.
And you know what's really impressive to me, Evan? This is a bit of a very specific callback here, but
yeah.
Edgem is doing well on Androxus.
Hey, what do you know?
Comparative to some of the Frog Isle games that we've seen Edgem play during Pogs. It's just one of those things, but wow. Moonchopper shut down, still shuts down Niu. That'll take a bit of the wind out of the sails of Big Egos as they look to regroup. They've still got a Khan on the front line. They've still got this Inara here, and you just aren't budging them as they pull Barrack with overpower, and they don't get the kill.
Interesting. A little bit of a stabilization here. It could go either way. I want to talk about what just happened once the action settles down, and it looks like it finally will. But Team Mac, that's got to be the replay of this half for me, because the Dimensional Link has Moonchopper twisting his head. He's like, where'd he go? I don't know where this Ying went. All of a sudden, Team Mac shows back up, finishes him off in the air with the hit scan weapon. That's the kind of value a support can bring. We don't talk about Team Mac being in that level of support where you would throw in the Bites, the Cuscuties, the Vexes when they play, when the Jaras even over across the pond in Europe. But that was a top-tier play.
The one thing that I do have to remark as well is that Moonchopper target prioritization there, maybe not the best as we... You got to imagine, if you place down Dead Zone, you can really focus on dealing with the DPS rather than dealing with the support at that point, because they're just not going to get any healing. And as a result, maybe you might want to see that switch around a little bit, but Moonchopper's already back up to 74% ultimate charge, Evan. That's a very fast-charging ultimate, even after many patches of nerfs back in the day at this point, and they're getting ready. Renegades could be in trouble. Big Ego is bearing down on conversion.
But that headshot, though, the bonus damage, it leaves some dents in ClickU's dome. And luckily, he doesn't have any pressure at the moment. He's still got 353 health, and now he's got to get healed up from that very low deficit. Still hasn't fought with full health this entire fight, and those little things do start to matter. Beautiful pull here from Hero. It's going to help stabilize, but Niju sees an opening. The 2 damage dealers facing off and then backing off. 25 seconds left on one of the most notoriously difficult maps to push on in Paladins.
20 seconds then, as you said, Evan. Renegades sitting on, they're sitting on the Dome Shield, the Dreadsup, and the Ancient Rage. If Renegades really want to defend, they can, and I think the Big Egos know this. They have used a lot of their ultimates on push. They've just got the Overpower up again. They've got the Illusory Rift up again. Scout's not going to charge before the round ends. At this point, you're just trying to bait whatever you can out of Renegades.
I think if you get 1, you're good, right?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, if you get an Ancient Rage, you're like, all right, that was good, even if we don't push it in.
Yeah. Pretty much, and now you can see that ClickU's found 1. It was the Illusory Rift used by Ying there, actually trying to keep Edgem alive, but Edgem's being hit by the Death and Taxes out to heal. Tries to get out of there. Niu in a lot of trouble as well. Moonchopper, though, does go down. This could be overtime continuing to affect ClickU. 80 health. In comes the heal, and it might just be enough.
And the Dimensional Link, the Illusory Rift for the Ancient Rage, I'll buy it. Absolutely. Viral and Hero now looking to stabilize Edgem with the Accursed Arm. Maybe bites off a little bit more than he can chew. Again, Dimensional Link from Team Mac just absolutely breaking necks, but it does end up being a stalemate. 1-1, although having that huge frontline ultimate not to worry about next fight is a big boon for Big Egos.
And as we see the first kill cam coming through here. Edgem just taking high ground control. That was a punch and a half there. That was a Mr. Fantastic punch right there.
How'd that hit?
My goodness.
Stretch Armstrong.
Look at the lack of ultimates on Big Egos, right? And this is, to me, the difference between a veteran team and a PPL team and the lowest seed coming into this tournament, the bottom seed, North American PGS. They had the opportunity to, as we said, just maybe bait out the Ancient Rage, maybe grab the Dread Serpent or something like that, or bait the Dome Shield. They just throw everything at the wall. They don't keep anything in the tank for the next round. And all they're relying on now, sure, they got Morale Boost online, Morale Boost 2 on T-Mac and Watkins, with Niu sitting on Morale Boost 1 for the Scout, but that's the closest ultimate up and available, and it's only at 75%.
And I mean, I think these are recent purchases. These are investments either at the start of the game or now Niju himself going into it just to be able to get that ultimate as soon as possible. He's going to have the Scout soon. William355 goes onto the objective.
Being scouted out that themselves. That is actually the Scout that has been used right now, so Big U is looking for this play, but see, the one thing that we got right now is that although Edgem is being hunted by Kliku,
it's working.
Kliku's not shooting the objective.
Exactly.
Kliku's not applying all that massive anti-heal. This is really critical. This is Edgem doing so much work. Gonna find Moonchopper here. That's huge.
What else do you want? What else do you want? He essentially kills Leon. Because she has not played.
Yeah.
She hasn't played.
Just not a part of the game. You're off there playing a completely different game right now. No, don't let us smite. This is Paladins we're doing right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like it was a little bit of version of like Paladins' car. She was going around a racetrack just up and down and circling that little building.
We've got to get an adventure with that. Who would you pick out of any champion? Who do you think is going to be the fastest?
I think Makoa. Give me a turtle shell cart, and we got the victory there.
Might see Big Eagles taking another capture as well, taking the victory there as the Bond Scott just gets hoisted, and that's twice that we've seen that overpower when it has been available come on to the Bond Scott right now on this barrack. First time didn't get a kill, second time did. This is a very, very narrow focus, though. I don't think this is just because the barrack's an easy target to be able to kill. This feels like it is intended pressure.
Well, Kliku is a dominant player. I mean, you look at him on the con, and then you look at his ability to flex, but you don't say Kliku is a dominant damage player. You don't look at him like, oh, Kliku on Andrew, oh god, or Kliku on Cassie, oh god, right? The way you would like a Mutu or a Creatives whenever they play anything. But that's Edgem. Edgem is that guy, and he is beating Kliku in this race, and despite Kliku flexing, showing his overall caliber of greatness, in this specific instance, Edgem is edging him out.
Yeah, this is why you need Manifest Destiny, folks. That's why you got to be able to zoom around the map. That's who's going to take it in the Paladins card games. It's going to be Leon just hitting the gas pedal, get that ability up and running. But up into the air goes Edgem, looking for a target here.
He's got it.
Now you got to remember, Fayflight was just used in the previous fight. There's only one ultimate available for Renegades. That is the Enlightenment. Dread Serpent up soon, and a 10 streak from Aldamba. Edgem could be in trouble here. Is pulled in by Makoa, and I think that'll be the end of the contest for now, as there are 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Evan.
But what I like about Androxus here is he's really worth his weight in stone. I absolutely love the idea of how he's able to take control of not only one person's interest, but two. Kliku and Hero now having to rotate over. It did give Niju an opportunity. He just didn't fulfill it by getting any kills on it, but it's Renegades who will now stabilize after finding a couple of staggered kills in a row on the Big Egos.
40 seconds left. Let's look at the ultimate charges again. Big Ego is sitting there. Well, they're doing the charging more than the charged right now, and they are all close to being up and available. But again, Renegades, they're sitting on a lot right. I want to see Big Egos this time go into it going, let's bait out what we can, and just, we've had 2 point fight wins in a row. Let's try and do more of that. That's been against the early game anti-heal pressure that Renegades can put up. If they can keep that ultimate advantage for the actual point capture, then I think they'll be in a very good place, but I don't know if they have the trigger discipline.
Well, I like this. I like this rotation. Niju, look at it. He's pushing right side with Edgem, and now all of a sudden he's pushing on this left side. Seismic Crash. They're going to try and finish off Hero really quickly here. He's going to have to Ancient Rage if he wants to stay alive. He has to do it. Otherwise, it's a 3-1, and you can expect it's coming through now. Maldamba trying to deal the damage, and Viral will get a clutch kill there, but T-Mac's still alive, healing up his front lines, and William355, stalwart as ever. Edgem gets taken down by Moonchopper, but just barely, and Hero with an Ancient Rage again to save the day. Has looked like he's been able to do it for Renegades here on the defense.
And that was just really clutch play. I think if maybe that Impulse Cassie had come through a second earlier, that would have been the Makoa down, that wouldn't have been the Ancient Rage, and it could have been very, very different. But again, it's Big Ego saying, we got 1 kill, let's take the opportunity to go all in, and maybe not recognizing the fact that that's not enough security to be able to invest all of your resources at that point.
Edgem looks focused. Focused, ready to go.
Doing a great job so far. Edgem is actually my standout player for Big Ego so far. With what they've been able to do with Androxus. And Edgem has a reputation for this champion within the PGS and just within at least pickup games online and stuff like that. And it's one of their favorites. works out so well on Splitstone Quarry because he can just kind of lead enemies for a loop that don't have the vertical movement to be able to chase you around, running the Abyssal Touch as well.
Yeah.
And that's a really big one. Allows you to have that massive 10-second cooldown reduction on your Nether Step if you land a Defiant Fist Punch. But Renegade's going into this, Evan. I mean, Scout's just been used. Big Egos don't have the ult advantage. They don't have the economy advantage either right now, I think, as well.
Look at the mix-up.
Direct.
And now they're just going to finish off Bonscott. Great overpower. What in the...
That actually is an issue with Khan's overpower, if I'm not mistaken, but they still get the kill anyway. Neo finishing that one off, and now they're looking towards the objective. Up into the air, a Cursed Arm available, but Edgem is going hunting for ClickU right now. Finds him, looks to land the Defiant Fist. Another punch can come through. Moonchop is so low, but Edgem recognizes it is better to use the Accursed Arm. Viral will go down. The damage is good enough. Neo with 3 on the Cassie, and that is Big Egos taking control once again.
Wow, this has been dominant. This has not been a fluke. This is 3-point fights in a row with a better executed lineup and a better executed point fight that the amateur PGS team, I'm saying it like it's not a bad thing. Trust me, it's really not. It's just letting you know where they came from, has been dominating the top pro Paladins League seed here in North America. 99% Moonchopper on the Faith-like, trying to find kills, but he can't quite find much. William355, the only one to take down anybody in the last 10 seconds, and that's Hero on the side of Renegades.
Dead Zone did go up. It did go into the objective. That is pretty big. ClickU finds Watkins as well. ClickU finds Edgem as well. Niu takes down ClickU in response on the objective. You're not welcome here.
Nice.
The Bonscott, the sub coming into this, says, well, I'm not welcome here, but still doesn't get taken down. But I mean, look at that, Evan.
T-Mac, are you kidding me? He sends Moonchopper for the races again. He just lets him look outside, look inside, and meanwhile, he's sitting in the car the entire time. T-Mac putting on a clinic. He's putting on a display. He should be paying this. I mean, people on Renegade should be paying him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right about that.
Do you see Mako take the elevator right there as well? He gets disengaged up to the high ground on this little, I don't even know what to call this, his excavator bucket thing.
He had to take the elevator. You know, the stairs are basically closed, man. I mean, Payne is leading him. Sorry, now, excuse me. T-Mac is leading him all up and down without any way to get there quickly. And I love the distraction. It's a revenge, but it's too late, Vox. He already got what he came for. This is beautiful.
You know what that is as well? That's a mid-round buy. We often talk about this and remark just the fact that you get the neutral capture objective. That's 300 extra credits in your pocket.
Yeah.
T-Mac going straight back to base goes, okay, well, I got a little bit to spend now. Maybe I can finish off my morale boost if I haven't got that already. Maybe I can get some blast shields online, as that seems to be a bit of the name of the game right there. But all of a sudden, Renegades, Big Egos are spilling back into it. T-Mac has cauterized 3 and morale boost 3 on Ying. This is such a massive itemization advantage over the Renegades right now.
Well, when you don't die, bring up some of the KDAs. He's done very, very well at surviving moments that he has not looked like he was about to survive. If we do bring up the KDAs, we might be able to see what his death to kill ratio is. It's 2 to 4, but 12 eliminations, and so that's 13 right there. Pretty much a 15 to 4, pretty much a 3 KDA.
My God,
and look at that, Edgem continuing his dominance on the damage side.
I mean, Edgem just sets up the rope-a-dope. That was a really, really minor mechanic there of Androxus used as well. Now, the funny thing about Androxus is that you use 1 Nether Step charge. Yeah. You've got a couple left in your kit, right? But the really important thing is if you reset the cooldown of Nether Step whilst you're in that kind of between Nether Steps phase, you can effectively chain multiple Nether Step sets in a row. So Edgem dashes in, resets the cooldown, dashes around, kills somebody, and then is able to dash out again just because they are so good at knowing how to manipulate this champion's mechanics that they end up pulling themselves to an advantage. And this wall could be everything.
Now here's the issue. We got an Ancient Rage, but this is a much healthier Big Egos team. And 15 straight. He's trying to find out who he should go for, and they buy Moonchopper. That's a fairy down. No more flight for her. Still healing. Life exchange. Exchanging life with William355, but the Bonscott puts an end to the Stagalis Terror. 18 seconds left. Hero finds a nice stabilization pick up there. And I think this is going to do it, at least for now. Big Egos will have to back off. Nah, that's over for a little too much. He's not the one.
Certainly not. I mean, Neo's had some standout play on Cassie so far. Picks up a triple kill in an earlier round, but it's just not quite enough to be able to go 1v, I think it was 4 at that point.
Yeah.
Respawn proximity advantage, Evan. Renegades, they just have respawns closer to the objective than Big Egos do, so they can replenish their numbers when they need to.
Really good learning experiences from Big Egos, though, because you have to say, they could have pushed those in. I mean, really, the Ancient Rage, they didn't have a good answer. big game, something that we didn't talk about. I mean, the fact that he went impulse, big game,
for it.
totally changes the dynamic when he Ancient Rages, because that actually ends up being more damage that Cassie's doing to him in that situation.
It's like 1250 a shot, I think.
It's actually 1630.
Is it 1250 just on base Makoa?
Yes.
I feel like it might be.
It's about
that
16.
Is a lot of damage, Evan.
It's insane, man. And you got to say that this is something that, we talked about Quick and the coach of this team for Big Egos. They expected this kind of good performance.
Yeah, and they do. And look at that. 126,000 damage, almost 127k for Neo at the top. Renegades are close behind that, Moonchopper being the next highest, but as Scout comes through from Big Egos, oh my goodness, look at this as well. They're getting ready to get the Carnal, the overpower coming through. They might just put somebody straight into the fidget spinner. The Dome Shield used by Bonscott at 80% health already. Renegades are beginning to crumble. They're worried because this is game point for them, but Hero finds Edgerman. That is critical.
This is nice poker. This is nice poker right here, because they're both just sitting back, sunglasses on, and no one wants to make a move. I'll raise, you raise, we'll go even, but no one's showing their hand yet, and that's kind of the simplicity and the brilliance of the simplicity of this change-up from the fight from Renegades. Hero doesn't have the Ancient Rage, and that's the only issue, so he's going to go down here early by Niu.
Dread Serpent, not good enough to save their life, though. The Bond's got on the objective now. Nowhere to run. Tries to rocket boots away. Bowling ball is good. Kliku comes in with the enlightenment. Niu just soaks it, recognizes that I can survive it, and we can end up with the kill, but now it's Moonchopper with the dead zone around the objective, just making sure the Renegades can hold on. Khan comes back in. No ultimates available for either team.
Took too long.
This could be the end.
You got to make a play here. I don't think Niu wants to make it yet. They need the Bonscott down. Bowling ball saved his life. Not anymore. William 355 is there, and now Niu has the scout. Kliku has to make a play, but no one wants to get aggressive here. 72% and counting. It's dead even on the objective here between the two North American representatives.
The blind shot found them up in the air. Edgem does get the trade onto Moonchopper, though. On the objective, T-Mac has illusion set up, and that is the big thing right now. Ancient Rage has to come through. That is the saving grace, but the wall is too good. And Big Egos off the back of an impasse. They steal it away. They sneak it from Renegades. 4-3 at the end.
Wow!
Oh my goodness.
Wow! And that's just the neck-and-neck nature of this game. They were so tight that they didn't realize the overtime was in a position to immediately collapse and give the team who was on the point the win. They thought they had maybe a millisecond or two to get back on there, and they didn't, Fox.
And that was such a close final point fight. I mean, a big shout out to Renegades for the adaptation that made that last point fight so much closer, but Big Egos coming out of the gate swinging. 15th seed in this tournament.
My goodness.
And they've just taken the game off of a PPL team. Sure, we can sit there and say that they're not their full roster, but I don't think that matters at this point. Big Egos played lights out that game.
And it was the top North American PPL team as well. We knew these players knew each other. We knew there was no fear. There was actually a little bit of welcome challenge between both teams. And as you can see from the matchup, it was neck and neck. This time it goes to the PGS team, Big Egos, and they're one game away from knocking Renegades into the losers bracket.
I mean, point capture after point capture after point capture. Control was all in favor of Big Egos. Yeah, it went 3-3, but I don't think they were ever really too worried about what Renegades are putting out.
You know why this is so scary for the Renegades is because they got a good draft. Everyone, Bonscott played well on his barrack. Everyone played well. Everyone got a pick that they would theoretically do well with, but Big Egos just did a little bit better.
Edgem is one of the ones that caught my eyes throughout all of that.
That got messy down the
We're a
stretch.
couple of there, but it was Androxus. It's something that we've seen in the past, and we've mentioned it actually in the fall split that he was one that was in consideration for that sub spot for G2. Was it going to be him? Was it going to be Flame? Flame got the spot, and now Edgem is decimating people at LAN. No worries.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent on this roster. There's no doubt about that. They just hail from, different teams, different backgrounds, things like that. And Edgem will be your SteelSeries MVP for game number 1 of this set. Congratulations to the kid himself. He had some great moments, especially, I think, that first blood in the very first round. He had a lot of times where he was able to take Moonchopper down, and down the stretch in that 3-3 point fight, he was actually able to take him out of the sky, out of the Fae Flight ultimate. Really good accursed arm there. Predictive stuff as well. The second Kliku got aggressive, popped that enlightenment. Who was waiting for him when he turned around? But the accursed arm, great stuff from the Andro.
I noted him down as the anti-air Edgem Andro. It was everything that you needed. He was hunting people down constantly while they were there, and like you said, dealing with Moonchopper very appropriately. And the way things went for them, I mean, this is actually relatively important because economy is something we mentioned. And again, that goes 3-3, but 3 point captures in a row for Big Egos. they get 900 credits per player ahead of what we saw at Renegades. Like, as the game went on, even though it was still close, it wasn't really that close.
Yeah, there's a lot of credits to be had by playing the objective, especially for those front lines, and then kind of for the supports as well, who end up pushing the payload. When you're on the offense, more often than not, you can just, when you have the time, everyone can crowd around the payload. If you have nothing else to do, then you just naturally increase your credit gain by being near the objective. So definitely some economy notes to take there. Big Egos in the driver's seat for the majority of that game.
And even though we saw Edgem, and I guess the rest of the team, T-Mac actually being able to put his name out there a lot as well, I want to give some credit to Neo, who was able to find a ton on Cassie. I put the only word I could think of, any synonym didn't seem to do it justice, were just slaughtering people. Like, it was just left, right, center. His crossbow bolts were always finding exactly where they needed to be at the right time, either hitting a disengage, hitting the shots. Do you think it was, again, the dynamic between him and Edgem that gave them that lead, being able to take down pretty much anything Renegades could do as a damage duo?
I think there's been a lot of double hit scan this event, and there's not been a ton of projectile play. We saw Chopper on his Willow, on his blaster, and then Cassie for Neo. She's always been that bridge blaster. You'll see random noob play the Cassie from time to time. Fisheko will play this Cassie when there's no real good blaster plays. And I think just being comfortable there and really showing his stuff as a versatile player, as a versatile projectile DPS player for Big Egos, was what put Neo in that spot. I think he just played the character damn well.
So, split Stone Quarry. Really hard to get a push, relatively easier to get a defense on. So 3-3 is not something outlandish as a score. If you can find a 4-0, obviously your team knows
I
it
thought
well.
every single round it felt like that was getting converted.
It was so close every single time. But now we're going to Bright Marsh. Bright Marsh is going to be different in the sense that it's much smaller, much easier to convert on, and it kind of feels like it plays into Big Ego's hand. Do you think that this map is actually going to be even better for them?
It potentially could be. What I'm looking at again at the Renegades was it wasn't quite the lineup that I thought it was going to be. I anticipated as few moving pieces as possible, was basically my hypothesis. And they put Hero on the more aggressive frontliner, on the Makoa, and they had Bon Scott on the Barrack, who is the more passive, likely to be playing the point, playing the objective frontline. Do they stick with that? They probably led with that because that was what they practice and probably what they feel most comfortable with. So that's definitely something worth noting as we go into this game. And so far, it has been nothing but frontline bans. Ashe is gone. Makoa is gone. Casters mentioned in game number 1, they tried to ban out Bon Scott. It looks like they might be trying to do that again.
Renegades having to decide and weigh what they want to get rid of. Torvald has been very big today as someone to get rid of. But are there enough options that you can maybe let that through? If Bon Scott can get that, or anybody on Renegades can pick that up, that could be a big swing in their favor for being able to run flanks, change things up. But it looks like it's going to be the Willow. So that does actually leave Torvald available if anyone wants him.
It does, and there's a lot that it could pair with and be very potent with. Willow being one of those things, NIP were really the only team to pull that off, but I'd imagine after a performance like that against the team that NIP ran it against, there's really no question the strength of that combination. So leaving Torvald open can be an interesting way to do it. Normally, he pairs so well with Envy. He pairs with Talus. He pairs with Andro. He can pair with Willow. So normally teams just ban him away. This is an interesting route that Renegades have gone for, but they got their backs against the wall. I think they maybe need to try something a little spicy.
In any other scenario, I'd say, well, hey, if Torvald's available and you really want him, Torvald Androxus for Renegades seems like a shoo-in. But there's no Loki, so it's always something you have to risk for yourselves, whether or not you're going to be confident enough in it. And Nara going to Big Egos played a huge role, honestly, in the last few sets that we've seen. But that last game, it was the wall that was just keeping Renegades just far enough out during that last point.
Renegades even had Willow, man. They had what was on paper, and frankly in practice, really the only thing that does do a decent job of shutting down an Nara. They had what they needed, and Renegades still couldn't win. That's what's so scary about that Big Egos victory, is Renegades should have, in theory, had everything they needed to win that game, but they just didn't. Torvald Fernando scooped up for the Renegades here. We'll have to see what they elect to pair with it. Androx is still on the board. Drogo's notably still open, but, I mean, there has not been a lot of blaster play today.
Well, Drogo's going to come through, and again, it's been kind of surprising. Went from someone who was almost always banned along with Willow to someone who was always picked either first or second to, are we even going to see him this game? Dredge as well has kind of come into that conversation of, are we even going to see him? Because all day, no one has gone for him.
I think this is Big Egos calling out the Renegades, saying, we just know you're not going to pick Andro. You have Torvald. We're going to take Drogos and we're going to spit in your face. Fire spit, that is. And there's nothing you can do about it, man. I mean, this is such a ballsy move from the Big Egos, but I could see it paying off.
so much.
Do you take that risk? I mean, this is a best of 3. You don't have any more games to give.
Yeah, you back against the wall, either have to go for it and hope that it works the best. The good news is that no matter the outcome of the set, there's still going to be a couple of days here for Renegades to kind of figure out
no
what
one's
they're
going
doing.
home.
Either in the lower bracket or if they manage to come back and find a reverse sweep in the upper bracket. But there's a lot of work to still be done. They do go for the Grover, which is something that we had mentioned in the first set. We got to see it a couple times, but he's kind of been sparse throughout the day.
This is actually kind of a viral special. While he hasn't played a ton of it in the past split, when like the second Grover became like a viable thing, G2 I think ran a decent amount of it, and then Viral picked it up and ran it in just about every PPL game that the Renegades had during spring. Like he played a lot of Grover. This was a big part of the Renegades team compositions. We'll have to see if that's a big thing for them to lean on here. It looks like it will be the Torvald Talus. A very good combination, probably one of my favorites on Bright Marsh in particular. I think Talus does extremely well here.
How are you feeling about the Ruckus Zen lock-in at the very end? I think Ruckus is good on this map, but how are you feeling about the Zen?
Zen's pretty question mark. If he's going to be able to find any value, that's the real question. I feel bad for the Ruckus into the Talus matchup, especially with the Torvald. That's already a hard matchup just at base. When you put a Torvald into the equation, I think Talus is going to be really, really giving this Ruckus a hard time. I think it's going to be a lot on Zen. Honestly, he does a good job getting in front of Talus. Maybe you can even spite him during his overcharge, but you have to be able to shut this Talus down. Do not let him hyper carry the game.
Right now, Renegades risk getting tossed down to the bottom bracket. There's a lot that can go right, a lot that can go wrong during this map, but we're going to go to the casters to take us through Bright Marsh and find out whether or not Big Egos can be our set champions.
You certainly would assume they'd have a big ego if they made it through after another victory, 2 in a row over the #1 North American PPL team here at this LAN. Renegades have a lot to say. Let's see if they say it here on Bright Marsh.
Oh, it was a Yomi, and it is a field study, and the talent's coming through. William 355 up to the high ground, failing that one.
Missed the jump!
Ooh, we're going to have to take
Good
style
adjustment.
points away from that. I love the roundabout play, though. Looks for Viral. This Grover could be in trouble, but a little bit of an overextension there, Ever. And I'm going to say that you reached the end of your selfie stick.
But was it? But was it?
But
Edgem,
was it?
Watkins, T-Mac, hello. This is like everything you need and more. You got a bubble, but is it really going to save you? Moonchopper backs off nonetheless, and I think Hero can only do so much to keep this cuddly, trick-or-treating Talus alive. 39% and counting here for Big Egos.
Oh my goodness, that was a trip. That was like I'm watching a Hollywood movie right there, and I'm getting the complete roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
The Ruckus doesn't make it. He makes it.
The
he
hero's
dies.
journey,
The rest of the team
failure,
makes it.
the success.
75% on the objective versus a Nanara. I mean, how are you getting in there to touch the objective with a Nanara there? Look, the wall's already gone up.
Oh my goodness,
Oh,
Niju
no.
here. People do not realize how much of a top-tier blaster Niju is, and that is one of the benefits that he brought to the El Zulu
Triple.
kind of,
Quad.
you know, sanguine now
Full
team, as Edgem also very well known for this Zen. These guys are not afraid of anyone here, and the Renegades look like lambs lost out on the field.
I try and, again, I play pickup games with these guys occasionally. I haven't done in a little while, but Edgem playing flanks is just one of the really big ones that you just don't want to see, and Zin is one of those picks, and it is the Yomi Zin. It's not the Guillotine Zin, but Spite is up and ready and available. Needs to be very careful here. Pops into Billow, straight onto the gourd. The Mending Spirits come on through, and Viral is forced because of that reset to use the Whirlwind just to kind of stabilize for Renegades and let them try and get their feet underneath them, because right now they look like they're standing on black ice.
There was a lot of talk about Sanguine, right? And, and I think Big Egos definitely have taken over the storyline narrative here as far as PGS
Good
teams.
counter.
We saw Rock Monkey and Rubu, who are now watching these games happen, be a part of the qualifiers here in November last year and shock the world. It looks like Big Egos are the next, but
Oh no.
Renegades find a couple of kills
The
to
Bond
stabilize
Scott gets
here.
out of that. Evan, are you kidding me? The Bond Scott got hit by Seismic Crash, Dread Serpent,
Was he
Spite,
Spite? Yeah.
stays alive.
It's that armor.
Comes back in, gets a kill. It's about to take down Watkins. Oh my god, Watkins does get the kill there. William 355 stays alive, and again, it's just I'm getting a roller coaster of emotion. I need to, if I wasn't already sitting down.
I know.
Wait, can I talk about that? Am I allowed to say that?
Do you need to sit on the floor? Is that what it is? You have a chair. I mean, you can sit on the floor.
Oh my goodness, I feel like I need some stability in my life right now. I am on a boat, and it is being rocked by Big Egos right now as they are, with 1 minute left, 75% plus of the way through towards conversion. The EU setting up with the Dragon Punch if they need it. in a bit of trouble here, but still able to get out scot-free.
Well, they're definitely shaking things up, I'll say that. And
12 health?
I mean, listen,
Was that 12?
This is an
Straight to the Dragon Punch?
amazing kind of situation here where the Dragon Punch does get used, but it does retain 30% because he did not die and it did not land. So as long as you run it out and you don't die, you will retain a lot of that. And look at Drogoz. He's going to be getting that charge back very, very quickly. Doesn't get it on shields, but once that player health starts to fall victim to the combustible, he's going to be looking real good. But oh boy, Moonchopper finds a kill in the back line to edge him. That's going to turn things around, at least for now.
And really big there as well, Evan. That's the second whirlwind from Grover used just on this defense. That's in 2.5 minutes. Viral is charging this impossibly quickly right now. I'm wondering if it's maybe a morale boost, Grover, that we're seeing coming through, as that is at least unusually fast. But oh no, Watkins found their way all the way back. The Bond's got in trouble, goes down to edge him. Zin's getting into the back line. Out comes the Dread Serpent. Who is this behind?
Who's
This
on
could
the
be a battle.
payload?
Nobody can contest. ClickU dives on in. So does Viral. Moonchopper, though, goes down to edge him. This could be the end.
I mean, unless Leon suddenly gets about 4,000 more health, I don't think she's going to do enough of a good job frontlining here. You got to give the shield value to Hero, and there's the Immortal. They need to keep him alive. Seismic Crash is available. Not enough time to use it. He's going to go for the Stone Spear damage, and he's going to find it. Watkins edge him with one. T-Mac falls, so no healing. And that's the defense. And right at the edge, you can see it. It was so close. Let's take a look at the INAP instant replay of how it all started here.
Oh, this was just beautiful. Again, that wall goes up, blocks off the main support from Renegades, just choking them out. Double kill as the salvo comes on through, and then it's just Viral left over with the combustible fire spit, knocking them into a perfect position. No mobility left for an easy kill. Down goes the shield, and a full house wipe comes on through. I mean, this is just Big Egos looking phenomenal. Didn't get the push, but at what cost to Renegades, Evan?
I don't know.
The Immortal was used at least. That's huge.
I mean, it definitely a lot of utility value gone just to hold the defense, and I didn't see Renegades have any personality on that fight. I mean, you saw William 355, who I think made a great decision. Misses the jump. He says, okay, I'm not going to let that get in my head. Yeah. You could see him talking to himself like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that. And then just goes to the back line, and it works out. I love the lack of hesitation, and to me, that just says confidence. We feel we can win this game no matter what, and that's just making a difference.
This.
See ya, Hero.
I love this.
Bye-bye.
This is just perfect, right? You recognize the fact that the Immortal is down. You just go, okay, we'll delete a single person. Moonchopper and the Bond Scott do answer back, though, get a couple of kills, and I think maybe Ruckus going down was the unexpected part of there. If Ruckus had stayed alive, if William was still up, then that might have been a little bit different, but now it's Renegades in capture control, and Viral's in a really good position with Grover.
The thing about Grover is he's very early game, kind of momentum-based champion. When he is doing well, everyone's grouping around him. He's got the damage reduction, he's got the heals. It's so hard to take him down without 90% anti-heal or even greater. Right now, he's had to fight against momentum. Edgem is crippled, but he's going to buy time for the Billow, but it looks like Renegades have turned it around this objective fight, and with a good start, have kept up in a good mid-round and going to look to capture this objective.
But now they've all got ultimates again. This is definitely going the way of Renegades. No ifs or buts about it, because you get close and out comes the Whirlwind, the Hyper Beam if necessary. Not even though, Evan.
Yeah, they couldn't touch. I think they realized that. And again, sometimes that's the confidence too, Vox, saying, you know, we can't get this one, but that's okay. Like, it's not game over. It's now we defend, and I think that's fine.
What a difference in trigger discipline, right? Because the really big thing that we saw on that Splitstone Quarry game was every time that Big Egos got close to hello Hyper Beam, every time that Big Egos got close to conversion or something, they'd just burn their ultimates, try and get the payload through, and now they're not even committing to a fight if they recognize that, well, all we're going to do is feed our enemies credits. So really good play so far from Big Egos on defense. Renegades have a bit of a free travel through so far, but I'm sure they'll meet a bit more resistance on this upcoming little bit of environmental cover, which is so useful.
Good Dread Serpent here. I think they're trying to go finish off ClickU, who has stayed alive a little longer than they would have hoped. And look at Viral on a 9 streak. As long as this Grover stays healing, stays in the thick of things, it is going to be tough to find an answer to quelling this defense, but they seem to have done it. A couple of ultimates used there. Dragon Punch at the ready, but the Hexafire still charging up. And the Dread Serpent no longer available.
That's a big one. I feel like it's tradition at this point, Evan, just to have Hexafires used in weird places. It's the, oh god, I've got 10% health left, or everybody's looking at me. What do I do?
What
key do I press?
Yes.
I want to have a look at William's keyboard and just see if there's a giant E key in the middle. He's just like, panic, slap it.
If things go bad, burn. No matter what.
That's always crossfire if I'm playing Tyra. I'm just like, bad situation, 10% health left, gotta go fast. Let's hit the gas pedal. Let's go. Oh, I'm back in base.
Back in base. Hey, it was a good try. That's what you tell yourself, at least.
You got to give it a shot, right? I mean, sometimes they work out, and if they do, they make a good highlight reel, and then on to the next game. And Big Egos, though, they're setting up for a pretty solid defense right here. William is being forced off the high ground, but that's buying positioning information from Niu, who's sitting there with a salvo charged and ready.
And you are looking at, I think, the biggest threat on the board for Niu. It is ClickU there in that lower part of Bright Marsh's room. He would have hit that fire spit, but a good timed rune of travel back to his original location was enough. 30 seconds left, and I don't really mind it. It's going to buy them space. And I think if you retain 30%, that's a comfortable amount of damage to potentially be able to do against a Renegades team. You're going to need some help, but I think it's okay.
Oh, good hit.
For the threat.
Did that just force a rune of travel, or was that maybe a blitz up that we just saw coming out of Moonchopper right there? But either way, Moonchopper's trying to go in. Looks like all cooldowns have actually been elapsed, so Moonchopper could be in a lot of trouble here. Oh, just able to get the kill on the edge of though. Big stun.
Wow, and I'm not sure why Watkins went for the seismic crash there. I don't think you gain anything from doing that. You know, personally, we know he's trying to get the finishing kill, and a beautiful bubble from Hero. Let's talk about that angle as well. But now you may be facing an overtime with momentum on the side of Renegades, another point fight where you could be down. Game point.
Oh, T-Mac this time can't use the dimensional link to ninja ourselves around. Oh my goodness, Moonchopper just takes the face tank off of William 5-5 and
Cut
goes,
your losses.
You know, I can stand here, and at this point, yeah, Renegades, this payload's going through. It's going to 3-1. Big Egos, they'll just stay in base. They won't give Renegades any more resources, but
oh no.
Look at this.
It took the Dread Serpent. Now he doesn't have it. That was a really big mistake, Fox.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a little bit of where Renegades can look to win this set, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more of that veteranship.
I think that's what we really came to the set looking at as well. It's the difference between, and we said it on Splitstone Quarry, it's the difference between a very experienced team playing at PPL level, and although a team which has just a roster of Bright Shiners, right? It's that collective experience to know, like, oh, I hold everything in the tank here.
Yeah.
We don't give it up. We make that call earlier than we perhaps would do because we've had the experience to predict how these outcomes will come through. And sure, you can try and go for a bit of a wildcard play, and sometimes it works out, but that consistency, that reliability is so important there.
I think the best case scenario for things like that is that Seismic Crash hits, it doesn't quite get a kill, you trade out with Watkins, and then all of a sudden you Dread Serpent, then a Dragon Punch is forced. Maybe everybody uses all their ultimates, but you need the advantage here.
I feel like Big Egos right now, they could be a little bit quiet if they don't go all in, try and find somebody. Niu uses...
There's no sound.
Trying to go in right now. Niu ends up actually hitting onto Hero. That's really, really big. And out comes the Immortal from Fernando, but everybody's stacked up and ready for the fire spin double kill. Make that a triple from Niu for the second time this game.
You keep underestimating the kid, and he keeps showing up big. And this is the zone that we thought SK Gaming would be able to pull off, didn't we, earlier? Look at this. Edge him up front saying, I don't care. I got a counter. I got a billow. Need you on the high ground. Say, where's that hit scan? Bring it out. Bring it out. And actually, it's behind him. And ClickU says, okay, I did. And I got a little capture objective for it.
And there we go. Talus trying to get in with, I think that was a true power going, a bit of wailing in the back there. Does end up using the Rune of Travel. Stays alive for a second. Moonchopper surely to go down. William 355. In comes Viral trying to save the day, but it's just not enough. And Big Egos also have combat mechanic, Gavin, right now. It's 93% to them. Triple kill for Edgem. Triple kills flying left and right. You'd think they were candy, and Talus, the trick-or-treater, is not picking up any of those on the side that they want to be. This is all about Big Egos.
He's definitely on the trick side right now instead of the treat. He's not getting any of those. Unfortunately, however, it does look to be that Renegades cannot finish off this game and tie this set up, which is what they were hoping for after their really nice 2-0 push. Yeah. And so now they're going to have to fight against Big Egos, who have the momentum on their side yet again. Watkins getting low. Despite not having all their ultimates, they were able to do it very convincingly off of 2 triple kills from Edgem and Neo, respectively. 2 minutes now, and ClickU is low.
You know, I've got a big question for you, Randy.
Yeah.
Hyper Beam, currently charged and ready.
Yeah. I was going to mention that.
Has that worked at all?
I don't think it's been used, actually. I don't remember when it's been used this entire game. Maybe once. And that was the big thing with Torvald. You're picking him for the bubble, but on a map like Bright Marsh, you don't get the same value. You just don't have any long line of sight that's easy to use your ultimate. So they're really 4v5 as far as using ultimates to win these team fights.
There are realistically 4 areas on Bright Marsh where you can use that ultimate to effect and throw people off the map. And if we split the map horizontally across the middle with north and south being bases, there's 2 points on each side of the map that you can. And realistically, again,
you know what,
just
though?
not in position.
I'm gonna take issue with that word and say that technically, I don't think realistically those show up very often. I think realistically, you don't put yourself in that position to be able to get a hyper beam of 4 people.
Because out in the middle of nowhere, and people go, oh, there's a Torvald by themselves. That's a free target.
It can happen, but it's not common, and that is one of the issues that I think they're running up against. Heroes trying to figure out, how do I make the biggest impact for my team aside from just being, you know, and no other way to say it, a bubble bot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new skin for Torvald apparently coming out, and it is target paint Torvald. You turn the bubble into that sort of like blue, red, and yellow for the bullseye, just waiting for it at this point. And 40 seconds left in this push. Big Egos can tie things up 3-3 right here. They're sitting on 4 out of 5 ultimates, 86% charge for Hexafire, which is the only one not available, whereas Renegades are sitting on 50% charge for the Whirlwind, which is, again, likewise the only one not available, but down goes Moonchopper. Niu stays alive. This is really big, and Big Egos could just slip this one through with no resistance.
Yeah, fire spit to the back. I mean, Viral and ClickU have not gotten hit by any damage from Drogoz, and I think this is just Niu needs to prioritize a little bit better. ClickU has not looked at him for a long time, and this is when Niu should be just forcing him off of this ledge.
Moonchopper, he blitz up his outer base, gets stunned immediately by T-Mac, but still gets the kill onto the support in the end, and I mean, that's just all she wrote for this push. Renegades do still hold the advantage. I think, oh, wait a second. Oh, that was 5% ult charge on Viral. Viral used Whirlwind.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Well, it's the same thing that happened last round as well. We saw the T-Mac use his Dread Serpent, so both supports at the end of rounds using these ultimates that, I guess, if history tells us, don't matter in the upcoming round. But if you're looking technically like we have been, they do matter. It's another ultimate, and already the ultimate economy does not shift in favor of Renegades in this type of map setup with the Torvald not able to use his Hyper Beam well.
Certainly not, and therefore I'm wondering if really the catalyst for Renegades maybe being able to close out this point capture will be them getting themselves into a position where that Hyper Beam actually means something, right? One really big important thing to mention as well, though, is you sound like you spotted something in the items here.
No, you go ahead. It's just he's running 50% billow speed. It's quite a lot. We usually see hideout 2 or 3, or 3 or 4.
Pretty big zoom. I kind of like it when you're dealing with a Zen and a healer like Maldamba, where you have to try and make line of sight again, right? And you don't have this Janos that can just heal you through walls. But the big thing for me is that Inara, actually with the impasse, does end up blocking out the Torvald's Hyper Beam. That's a really big thing. That didn't used to happen, Evan. That was actually changed for 1.7. And now, I mean, Torvald tries to throw you off the map, Inara places a wall, and that's kind of the end of that business.
He's got to be careful here, and he is getting into a better position. He's got a little bit of time in that Billow, and now Viral up on top. He's looking for the cripple. 18% here for Renegades. This is their point to win. Heroes put himself in a nice spot, but a Dread Serpent, it's not enough. No kills. Now you got to go for it.
True Power comes through into the backline.
Oh my God, look at where they are.
That's a complete flank coming around. That's cutting off the head of the Hydra right now. Big Egos have no support coming on through. Watkins has got to go big, but up the high ground goes Viral. That's not good at all for them. Big Egos still can't find a kill, but no, William 55 finds the bomb scar.
And I can't believe, how is ClickU alive? Edgem finally finds the kill. I think it was a Billow or maybe a counter.
Not T-Mac, not again. Oh my God, the stun.
T-Mac able to do it all. Stuns him at the edge of finding the kill. And man, oh man, Big Egos are showing up in a big way.
I now have to see a replay of that because T-Mac takes a bow with Maldamba afterwards, hits the emote. It's 93% for Big Egos. 2-3. Will they tie it up? 3-3 for Big Egos. The PGS team keeps themselves in this set bottom seed, going up against top seed in this bracket, NAPPL.
This is crazy. Just shows you how close these North American teams are in the PGS, how there is such a little difference, and how one player can potentially change everything. Loki, not a member of the Renegades for this land. The Bonscott filling in. I'm not going to make it about the Bonscott not performing the way Loki might have. That's all conjecture. We can only look at what Renegades have brought to the table, and so far, it's not as much as what Big Egos have consistently showed us today.
And this is just a really big problem. And here's the thing. Big Egos have this bit of a habit in my mind now of going, oh, we're close to conversion. Let's just dump ultimates at it. They did it in Split Zone Quarry. They haven't done it now, but this is push for conversion. Big Egos can invest everything at this point. If they can snowball, they can get it all going through. Down goes ClickU. Niu with 2. Can they find a third? No. Gets taken down by the Bonscott.
But you know what? You got to be careful here. You got to be careful here. I think if you, Renegades overextending. It feels like there's not a lot of members. You just get the kill on Niu, but you're not realizing there are 3 members lying in wait. William 355 on the right side, Edgem on this left side, and Watkins, who was low, but very closely about to be full health again, pushing in. That Warders field really, I think, threw Moonchopper for a loop. He got caught out.
Watkins, I think, is trying to Ooh, that's bad. Tries to buy some space between them and ClickU, but ClickU says, no, I can fit my rifle through this gap, and just keeps on landing headshot after headshot, and that's 1 kill in favor of the Renegades. 53 seconds left. ClickU with 2. I think at this point, you just back up with your big egos if you can. You cut your losses, you regroup, maybe get that last-minute buy-in, and maybe you can bait Renegades into overextending a little bit, but William355 goes down. It's another 20 seconds off the timer, Evan.
Yeah, and you know what I like? I like them holding right around here, because maybe you get an overextension from Renegades. You got 30 seconds left, and I think this is where you want to win the game. You don't want to wait till it's 3-3 and it's a capture point that's going to decide it. You want it to be on your terms, on your push. A good wall here could shut off the Bonscott's exit. It could also force ClickU into an odd spot.
Look at that body blocking though as well, just trying to stand in front of ClickU, and the Bonscott does get out. ClickU stays alive, proving that, I mean, this is really good play from a substitute player coming into this. Might be able to find the kill onto potentially Niu as well, but looks all in the wrong directions. Gotta use the Immortal if you want it, but decides to keep it in the tank. There's the Hyper Beam. Will it find a kill?
Oh my God!
And William gets 3.
He got 3! Triple kill for William 355. Purity took Rock Monkey. They took Rubu and they put him into the PPL, and William was left waiting for his moment. Did we just see it?
We might just have done. This could be the beginning of the end. In fact, it might just be the end for Renegades if they can't hold on. True Power comes on through. Will it come out on top? Here comes the Whirlwind from Viral as well. Immortal is ready if necessary.
My God.
You've got to keep Viral alive here. And out it comes. Dragon Punch mitigated. Niu in trouble. But now comes the Dread Serpent capitalizing the wall.
I think this is it.
The grouping is so good. Evan, this could be the end.
They're
2 left on
going for
Renegades. It's just Talus, and they're still in base. Bonscott is down. Niu with 3. And oh my God, the last minute contest does fade out. Big Egos take the 2-0.
What an amazing performance from the PGS team. They knocked down the top seed in the North America representative for the qualifier lands. Renegades down to the losers bracket. Edgem, Niu, and Big Egos move on.
How's that for your bracket predictions, everybody? I know a bunch of you, and one of the members of Team Envy's Discord server, Metapusher, have been throwing out a lot of them. I think that's going to throw everyone, but maybe a few for a loop. So it does for me.
I'm certainly thrown for a loop. I'm sure you guys are as well, right? That is some crazy stuff.
Sweating.
To end the day, too, Vox. That was one of the best parts about it. It's that we didn't expect it. We had a relatively consistent day with what the predictions are for the majority of casters, viewers, and players, and then this happens. No one that I was talking to was predicting this. They predicted the Sanguine over VP, but not this.
No, and again, it's bottom seed versus top seed in a region comparatively. This is just incredible stuff,
It was the scarf.
But overall, again, we can disregard the fact that you've got a sub playing for Renegades because you have to be prepared for situations like this. This was just a lot of lights out play coming through from Big Egos very consistently, and that Bright Marsh map was just a masterclass there.
Well, you could say that Big Egos might have just had their ego get a little bit bigger after their victory 2-0 against the top North American seed here. Des, what do you have to say about it?
I'll say they definitely picked themselves up a lot more after game number 1. Still goes towards the 3-3, but you can definitely feel Big Egos feeling very confident with the way things went. I mean, throughout that entire game, there were some hits, there were some misses, but I think they found way more hits across multiple members performing pretty much to the next standard.
They just felt a little bit more comfortable and not trying to make any excuses for the Renegades. But I think they may have backed themselves into that corner. I mean, Moonchopper just did not look comfortable on this Talus, especially out the gate. It wasn't as bad towards the end of the game, but it was rough at the start of that game. It felt like cooldowns were not finding any value throughout multiple uses of the kit. I mean, that's the whole point of Talus's talent. Inner Strength gives you a full reset on your kit, and neither of the full go-aheads were getting anything.
And it was really weird because Renegades, not at the beginning, it's like, okay, well, this isn't that impressive. And then round number 2, they just come and blow Big Egos out of the water. They get the point, they get the conversion, and it's like, okay, well, this is a completely switch. Like, it's gone 3-1 now. Renegades look a lot more comfortable. And then it all falls apart, actually, I think, in the next round when you look at Niu being able to play the Drogos the way the team was playing. But I think he came in with a triple kill during that third round where it just completely pushed Renegades back.
I mean, he was playing phenomenally, both on Cassie and on his Drogos. It's a little bit more understandable, I think, on the Drogos. That's his wheelhouse. That's what we expect from him, and he will be your Steel Series MVP of this set. Congratulations to Big Egos overall, but of course, a special shout-out to Niu playing wonderfully. A guy that does have a decent amount of LAN experience, never really winning anything, but he's been around for a while.
It's one of those things, especially with the way things were playing. Actually, formerly a member of Sanguine. He was playing with them through all of those LAN events up to this year, I think until this last split, where he has been taken off and now put onto Big Egos. And it definitely seems as though he has been a huge pickup, very successful play during that game. Edgem has also been a relatively big factor throughout that entire game. Xin helped set up Niu, or vice versa, for so many of those kills.
You got to give a big shout out to him as well. Xin is not something that I anticipated to be very successful at this event whatsoever, especially on its own, without something to pocket heal it, without something to pocket bubble it like Torvald, anything to amp it up, Illuminator, Genos even, like nothing really there. But Edgem still has a great game on it, and that's what's so surprising. That's a guy we haven't really seen much before on LAN. He's like almost the exception in terms of LAN experience, but again, he comes matters most.
Well, I know we have an interview ready here with Big Egos, and I do want to give one shout out before we go, and that is just T-Mac for playing so phenomenally as a support. We don't give them as much light as we normally do the damage dealers, but he played fantastically. But let's go ahead and hear what Big Egos think about the way they played and the way their set just went.
Alrighty then, we're here with, of course, Big Egos. First of all, congratulations, guys, on your big win versus Renegades. I had a question to William to start things off. What was going through your mind on that Bright Marsh game where you missed the mount jump on Ruckus right at the start?
Alright, so my plan was to go lid on Bright Marsh, which is like the high ground there on top of point, and create pressure in scouting for info. But as soon as I messed up the jump, I messed up the jump in scrims before, and I knew what to do.
You audible.
So the backup plan was just to mount through mid. I heard my boy Edge here. He got a big Yomi on Xin. I heard big damage, so I just went in behind them on left side apartments, and then I fed. I got 3 rockets off. My team cleaned up.
You mean you were tactical bait?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, tactical bait.
Tactical bait.
You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that there's a level of confidence and fun that you guys have shown today in comms and clearly your post-game interview and what was during the game. How much of that is a part of why you can attest to your victory and success against the Renegades?
I knew, like, coming into the Renegades matchup, like, our team is very momentum-based. So, like, I had to super sweat, try hard to win game 1. As soon as we won game 1, like, I felt very confident that even if we lost game 2, that we would take it home at game 3. But we were able to close it out 2-0, and it felt really good.
So one thing we noticed as well is that Edge, much better performance than Droxus on Splitstone Quarry than we've seen on Frog Isle previously. But again, folks, one thing that we noticed in that Splitstone Quarry game, very liberal with the use of ultimates. Round 3 to Bright Marsh, you seem to make a big adjustment to that. Is that the kind of thing which we should expect you guys to be doing on the fly and change things up as and when we go through the sets?
Yeah, because I'm a very like impulsive player. Like the way I'll see a situation and then like I'll just think of the opportunity, then just go for it. I don't like have any time for second thoughts or like second guesses because that leaves like room for error and stuff like that. So like if I'll see an opportunity, I just go for it. I just full send it.
Well, there you go, folks. Once again, a big congratulations to Big Egos in their day 1 win versus the Renegades. We'll be heading back to the desk in just a second to close out day number 1 of the Paladins World Championship placement round.
Big Egos get to move on. Renegades get knocked down. Not the results anyone expected today. A lot of today has been a little different than what people had thought we were going to see. Some of it being very standard. SK had a pretty good showing, but they weren't able to quite hold up the candle they wanted to Kanga. Virtus Pro moving on. We have Renegades falling. So a few things that have just kind of shaken up the cage.
This is really a big upset. And again, I don't want to make excuses for the Renegades. They don't have Loki here, sure, but this is the Big Egos is the 15th seed in this event, Gord. This is the 3rd place North American PPL team versus the 15th seed in this tournament. I mean, losing one player is not going to just knock you down that many pegs. There's really no excuses for it. I think Big Egos simply just won the day.
And they played lights out, not only there,
Super
but I think
sweat,
we saw a lot.
Fact.
Super sweat, try hard. I love the way that William.
I would hope you're super sweat tryharding all the time at LAN, but apparently not. I mean, a guy wears a scarf and the sunglasses to the interview.
He looked so
gotta keep it cool,
relaxed. I mean, even during game, he was sitting there. Like there was a point where we cut to his camera and he's just like,
I love. He's taking off the headset, smiling with his scarf still on. I thought that was just like a meme for the camera, but I guess he played the whole set in it.
Style as well as skill. So it's all coming down for Big Egos. Today, though, overall, I mean, do you have any crazy thoughts about what happened? Anything that was too out of the ordinary?
I think in terms of out of the ordinary, we just witnessed it. It will be Big Egos moving on. Tomorrow should be, I think, a little bit more interesting. I don't know how my boys on Kanga are going to do against Fnatic. I don't think anyone really knows what to expect from Fnatic. I think one thing that Fnatic have going for them is that they have just been exclusively scrimming with Na'Vi, it sounds like. So that's obviously going to help them out. I mean, that is a world-class team. Fnatic are a world-class team. They've just hit a big speed bump in their journey to greatness. I think there is still hope for this team to do very well this season. We'll have to see how it goes tomorrow, though.
Well, if you're looking for tomorrow, the matchups you're going to have, it's going to be the Mouse versus Space Station. That's where my eyes are going to be. Zaga versus Sour Team, as well as Cryptic versus Armada. Everyone looking at those first two matches is kind of question marks. Where are LATAM and Brazil going to end up?
Yeah.
Cryptic and Armada at the very end, going to be an interesting matchup. But Sanguine versus Ryder, the first lower bracket matchup we will have. That's the end of tomorrow that you will see. And whoever loses goes home. So that's going to be the end of the road. That bracket you just saw is the bottom bill. If you lose there, you are gone for good. No HRX. Not even getting to stay at the LAN. I mean, you can watch the games, but probably from your hotel room in silence as you are just sad.
There's 5 matches up for you guys tomorrow. Really, really cool ones as well. I personally am excited to see Space Station Gaming playing. I'm also pretty excited for Zaga Talent. You know, they have had some visa issues and stuff, but the big pickups, I think, from the now fractured and lost Pule Ule Sadak, they have kind of parted ways with that old squad of Akate and Fuzzy and Crimson, but seeing those two guys on these other Latin American representatives is a really cool thing, and I have high hopes for them.
Well, I know you're probably thinking if you're at home, where's Envy, where's Na'Vi, where's G2, where's NIP? What are these teams playing for? It's still HRX, so keep your eyes open for that. You can still get tickets for that as they are available. So make sure you are coming if you want to see the top of the top play. This is going to be whatever is right below the top of the top, the next to the top of the top. But that is going to be it for day one. We have some of the winners bracket teams. We have some of the losers bracket teams already decided. Tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. is when we will start as we get into day number 2 of the qualifiers. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.